And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Benched with Bubba, episode 131. We're going to talk some fantasy baseball. I love me some baseball, and it's been a few weeks since we talked baseball, so it's good to be back. And it kind of got my juices flowing watching this certain dynasty draft going around there from our goofy friends at Friends of Fantasy Benefits. And we'll get all the details in a minute. But let me bring my guest on first. You can find him on Twitter at RealFakeWalter. He has joined us on the Bench with Bubba podcast before. Walter McMichael, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I was going to say, you've been cranking them out because I remember specifically I was episode 68 because I almost made it to 69. But
so close.
You've pumped out, what, 70 episodes since then? And it's been like, I guess I came on in February, so it's been like 8 months. You've done like 70 episodes. That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of content.
First, thank you. Second, my goal is to get 2 out a week. I'm trying to get a football and a baseball, and eventually it'll be baseball only again once football's done. But, with life, things happen, or if it's kind of not as busy, I just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to relax for a week and take a breather. But ideally, I could talk baseball almost any day. So, yeah, it's fun.
I don't blame you on taking the breaks. Me and Paul have taken multiple, like, couple month breaks. We recorded this week, though. So.
Yes.
So it was our first in a couple months. So we're back on there, but yeah, it's impressive. It's not easy to do, to just continuously push out content. So congrats.
Well, thank you. And go check out their podcast. They moved over to the Friends with Fantasy Benefits. Like we said, I've had many of their contributors on. We've had Justin on a bunch of times, and they're all really good guys over there. And Paul and Walter made their bromance come back to life, and it's very, very fun listening to those two, because it's like two brothers that they can bicker at each other for like 30 seconds, and then they can do, they can be friendly and happy. It's a fun dynamic they bring to the table. So go check it out.
Yeah. We try to give out good analysis while also making fun of each other. So
you're very good at that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. We've had Paul on a few times as well, so it's good to have you back. Before we get into the dynasty talk, and it's kind of some of the fun stuff right now. We know we've seen awards season. We got hot stove kind of heating up. You got general managers meetings right now, and apparently, as a Baltimore Orioles fan, which we discussed last time you were on, they have some new front office pieces. Why don't you talk about that, because you were kind of rather excited about it?
Yeah. So they hired Mike Elias, who's the Astros assistant general manager, and he's in charge of player development and their amateur scouting. So, I mean, the big problem with the Orioles ever since I can remember is just they've always just had a terrible farm system. I mean, they kind of lucked into getting Manny Machado one year at 3rd overall, and Matt Wieters, who is supposed to be a dude. But, I mean, they've gotten lucky. They've had a lot of top draft picks. So it's like you're just going to have a lot of talent there. But you don't – the really good teams don't win just based on their first-round picks. And, I mean, I think we've all noticed how much talent the Astros just keep pumping out year after year. And their minor leagues is still just stacked full of talent. They've got pitchers coming out of anywhere that they can find. Like, I mean, you got pop-up guys like Josh James and Corbin Martin and just a ton of prospects. And he's a young guy. He's only 35. So he's made his way through the system. He came over with Lou now from the Cardinals. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited. This is what the Orioles needed. They needed a young guy that'll come in, change the philosophy, and turn that system over, because it's just been bad for so long.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see. I know on my baseball podcast, Around the Bases, Mo and I, we've interviewed some Baltimore writers, and we talked to them a couple times about, what's the philosophy. We know, the leadership's going to be changing over, as you just mentioned, it's starting to do that. You're going to have a new manager in place. Heck, Brady Anderson might have a very influential role in making decisions as well. And one of the big things we saw towards, the end of the year, early offseason, they started accumulating a lot of international money, because the Orioles never bought into the international pool. It seemed like they were never involved, kind of what you're saying about the minor league system.
Ever.
And now and they didn't get the piece they wanted, because it makes sense for Cubans to go to Miami. That made the logical sense. But the fact that they have all this money saved up, they can go do something, which they really were never in a position to do before. So the directions are going there. it's going to be, I'll probably have you back on in the preseason to really break down what is going on with the Orioles, because obviously Machado's gone. Adam Jones is going to be gone. You're still stuck with millions of dollars for Chris Davis. You have Dylan Bundy. Can he get back? Who knows? Like, there's a million questions with these guys. But at this point in time, how do you feel about the Orioles, like, now compared to where you were maybe a month ago?
I am definitely feel like they're in a better position. Well, one, because they have a GM in general. Like, they felt like they were just like in this phase where you didn't really know what they were going to do. But with this high, I mean, it's just like he's like, it's just like when a team that's been bad for so long and they hire someone who seems like they're going to be innovative and change the culture, it is huge for morale. And they're going to have the first overall pick this year. So it's a good time to get a new mind in there, because they're going to have a huge draft class, and they're probably going to have the first overall pick for a couple years. Based on that team, it's just horrible. So yeah, it's just a good time to get new blood in there.
It'll be fun.
And I like Duquette, and I've always liked Dan Duquette, but it's just like, it feels like they just didn't.
It was time for a change.
They didn't let him do everything that he wanted, and he did make some pretty good teams out of nothing. I mean, they're overpaying Chris Davis now, but they got him for Koji Uhara, and it's like, if you pull a Chris Davis for Koji Uhara, that's huge. And they got rid of Jake Arrieta, and people hate that, but overall, I think Duquette was a good general manager for the Orioles.
Yeah, it wasn't all his fault, basically, like you're saying. He's not the only reason why things didn't go right there. There was a lot of things in place. And one thing you got to always remember, you got to look with grains of salt on all this. They're always going to have to face the Red Sox. They're always going to have to face the Yankees. And the Rays are usually somewhat competitive. They're not always great. They're somewhat competitive. I loved them coming into the year. I know you guys did as well. The AL East is not going to be a joke ever. Like, it's never going to be the AL Central where you can kind of win 85 games and march to the freaking playoffs. So
yeah, it's tough competing different with the Yankees and Red Sox. It is tough, because those teams are always good.
So yeah, maybe one of these years they snag a wild card spot and you can make some magic, and you guys can blame Jeffrey Mayer for something again, or I don't know. We'll see what happens with that, but maybe we'll have to make a friendly wager at the beginning of the season after we see the hot stove moves of who gets back to the playoffs first, my lonely Giants or your Orioles? Because I want to say that Giants are in better shape right now, but it's still not pretty by any means.
I think the Orioles are in better shape because they realize that they're bad.
True. That's true. The Giants always hold on to that. Well, if we sign these three veterans that are past their prime, maybe we could put together like 85 wins. Yeah. No,
since we're going to talk about a dynasty league, the Giants are the dynasty team that won a few titles, and they cannot admit that it's time to sell their pieces. And they're trying to contend for one more year when they're legitimately like a 10th place team in a dynasty league.
I have a gut feeling, like I said before we recorded. I haven't gone over all the teams, but there's a certain person in your draft that I know pretty well, and I know his philosophies on dynasty leagues. And looking at his first just 10 picks on the main spread right here, I guarantee you Justin Mason will be that team someday. He always goes for the win now philosophy, because I've heard him on many of his shows that he's always like, okay, with dynasties, you never know if they're going to be around for 2 years, 10 years. You don't know, so I go to win now. He always does that. I know he said it on your guys' recent shows that I'm going to just draft these guys so I can trade them. I guarantee you so-and-so, and we'll go into it in a minute, will not be on my team, maybe by the beginning of the season, let alone the middle of the season. So that's what he does.
Yeah, Justin's wrong, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's okay to be wrong. And this is a safe space, Walter, so you can talk crap about Justin Mason as much as you want.
Well, you see, the thing is, I will tell Justin that.
I know.
On the podcast with him. So it's nothing I wouldn't tell him myself. So
if you guys want a really fun show, like we've always said when these guys are on, go to the Friends of Fantasy Benefits. During the season, they record every day. Right now, it's a couple times a week. It was, I think, 2 Mondays or 2 Tuesdays ago, whatever it was, maybe last Monday or Tuesday. It was Walter, Matt Thompson, I believe it was Justin, and was it Chris or
It was Colin Weatherwax.
Colin Weatherwax? Yes, all four of them are on there. And if you want to talk about four guys who know what they're talking about, but definitely disagreed on a few things, that was good. That
Yeah,
was really,
we
really
definitely
good.
had our disagreements. That's for sure.
Because you know what I mean. You can listen to some shows, and it's like everyone just gets along and agrees. It's like, okay, well, this is kind of boring after a while. No, this was good.
Yeah, if you want disagreement, just ask me to be on a show, and I'll give you some disagreement.
I love it. Well, let's get into this. Let's get into this dynasty talk, and we'll see where we agree and disagree on things here. I'm usually one of the friendlier ones, but I'm always good for a little debate. Um, First off, 30-team dynasty, 45 rounds, Walter. That is quick math. Carry the two. That's over 1,000 picks. I'm not even going to go all the way out if my math's correct. I could be totally wrong.
No,
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
yeah, it's over 1,000 picks. Just roughly, what in Sam Hill is your plan here in this draft?
To be honest, it was just like I so just a little background. So 30 teams, you said it's OBP instead of batting average. That's one major difference always.
Which makes sense.
We made it to where it's quality starts plus wins instead of wins or quality starts.
Which
Just
one?
kind of
Which one would you have preferred if you only had one?
I think quality. I like wins personally. I like wins and quality starts are both pretty bad stats
Yeah,
in general. But now with the way that baseball's going, I mean you have a ton of openers and it's like you'll have a guy like Ryan Yarbrough who I think finished last year
yeah,
with like 15 wins, but he
that's
barely
crazy.
ever started any games, so he's not going to get any quality starts. And it also makes it to where like middle relievers can pick up a few wins, whereas they're pretty much they're zeros in quality starts. So
Okay,
I like wins for the fantasy game in general. I think they're both pretty bad stats, but
okay,
just putting them together, adding them together, nobody can really argue with you.
so true.
So it's just to make things easier. And then we did saves times two plus holds.
I love that
So
one. I love that one.
yeah. So I do like that one in general, but I think it had to be in a league this deep because
Yes.
if not, you'll be stuck where a team has a closer get hurt, and then it's gonna cost them their entire farm system just to trade for one of the 30 closers in baseball. So
Yep.
it's kind of like you needed to add a hold aspect into it, even though I think holds is the worst stat in all of baseball. It's just
Well, yeah,
horrendous.
because the holds, it's such a loose thing. I can come in the sixth inning and get one out, and that's just bullshit.
Yeah,
But
you can get I'm pretty sure you can get no outs and get a hold.
oh,
But
wow, wow, that'd be impressive.
and then you can have like games where it's like each team gets like each team has like two or three holds on each side. It's just
Yeah,
it's pretty bad. But you have to add some sort of aspect in there just to level it out because you don't want it to where closers cost so much. And then you if it's just saves, you're not going to win your league with no
no,
saves.
not a
And
chance.
yeah, it's just not going to happen. So we had to add some sort of holds aspect into it. But yeah, so we did KDS. I don't know if you're familiar with
That's I was going to ask you real
KDS.
quick. Can you explain that because I have a rough idea what it is. I have never participated in one, but
Yeah,
I guarantee you there's a lot of listeners that have no clue what you're talking about.
so if you played NFBC, it's Kentucky Derby Kentucky Derby style. Sorry, you pretty much like so say you have to rank each slot that you want. Like say if it's we did 1 through 30 obviously, but generally it's like 1 through 15. So it's like if the pick you really want is 6, that's your first preference. So if your name gets drawn first, you would get the 6th pick
Okay.
instead of the first. So it's just you rank the picks in order of the preference. I ended up getting super low priority in this. So I ended up with the 21st pick, which isn't too ideal for what I wanted. I wanted the 6th pick because I wanted to be able to get my boy Juan Soto or maybe Vlad Jr.
Yeah, that was definitely not happening at 21.
So Yeah, those were my guys that I wanted. I knew Acuna probably wouldn't fall that far, but I wanted one of those two just because I think those guys in an OBP format are just generational hitters. Like,
Well, let's just talk,
completely.
let's just talk about this real quick because your first handful of picks, I think this will help with the philosophy of maybe what you're going for,
one more thing. It is daily lineup moves
which is interesting for this format.
instead of weekly. But it's weekly fab. So you can only just you alternate you set your lineup daily and you make free agent ads weekly. So that's why my second round pick is who it was. And
Yes. Let's just
I'm
say
sure that interests you.
yes, that's where we're going with this. Is you have let's just start with your top 10 here. You have roughly given one guy played in the pros last year for a little bit with the Rockies. No, I'm not talking about Shohei. You have 7 of the 10 guys are still prospects. And then you have Shohei Ohtani, who you took number 2 overall, which would be pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about pick 41 overall.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys are going to forgive me on this one. There's so many freaking picks, it's insane. But
yeah,
when Eloy hit, what was that?
Oh, I was gonna say I have the pick numbers if you want them. So
Oh wait,
I can tell
you
you.
know what's convenient. You know what's convenient. I just went to your team page and they're right there.
Yeah,
what a convenience! Right, I'm an idiot. But you went Eloy and then Shohei number 2. You know, for not getting you wanted Ronald or Soto or Vlad at 6, getting Eloy at 21, I think is outstanding.
Yeah, I love Eloy Jimenez. I think I'm going to be targeting him a lot in redraft leagues this year. He's getting overshadowed by Vlad and Acuna and Soto, and it's like in a lot of years he would be a number 1 overall prospect, and we would be so excited about Eloy because he just completely annihilated AA and AAA last year. And I mean, Steamer loves him. They project him to hit 340 or that 342 OBP and about like 28 home runs on the year. And that's he'll be 22 during the season. And I think they're a little light on his power, honestly. This is a guy who has like 80 raw power. He's just going to crush in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is a massively huge pick there at pick 21. The power is legit. This guy is going to be really, really good in that ballpark. I like that a ton. And then you came up with number 2. And yes, he's not going to pitch it all next year. But first off, is he going to be pitcher and hitter eligible in this league at the same time?
Yes, he will be pitcher and hitter eligible.
So he went pick 40 overall. That is outstanding to get Mr. Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I debated taking him in the first, but I kind of felt that he would make it back to me in the second, and I didn't think Eloy would. So, yeah, Ohtani in this format, if we do this draft again in a year, he's going to be a top 10 pick because even if I'm only able to get 120 to even 100 to 120 innings out of him, plus having him hit, like he just like I was so surprised how good of a hitter he was last year. He was amazing. And then he was a great pitcher as well. And in a 30-team league, being able to have one spot that is a pitcher and a hitter is just huge.
Yeah. I think it's pretty impressive for a guy that battled all those injuries. He still came out with 22 homers, 10 stolen bases, in what some would say limited role. I think is pretty darn good. You know, I was talking with Fantasy Front Office Phil a couple hours before we recorded, and I was just looking at his stats, looking at the steamer projections for him to hit next year, and the steamer projections are just outstanding. He's like a 275.
31. I think it's 31 home runs and 600 plate appearances.
Yep.
Yeah, by WRC plus. I had already checked all of these before I did the pick. By WRC plus, he's projected as the 12th best hitter in baseball.
Was it like 143 or something like that?
I don't remember something.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
But he's going to be a beast.
Yeah. So Yeah, I like that a lot. I think it's good because I was talking with Phil and he was talking about where would you take him in a dynasty, and I already knew where you took him, but I said, in all reality, if this is one where you can keep him forever and you could do this, that, or the other, I wouldn't judge you if you took him in the second round. That's kind of what you would have done if you took him in your first pick, because it's a second round pick in most drafts.
Yeah,
The fact you got him essentially at like a third to fourth round pick, depending on your league size, is just bananas to me. So I think that's a great move. Even if he doesn't bounce back to the pitcher he's supposed to be, just that bat alone, he's so young. People forget that with him. I think that's a great pick. Now, what you continue to do now with your next two picks is take more prospects. One we might see this year, one we definitely won't, but he's an absolute beast. Top pick in the draft, Royce Lewis. And you have Bo Bichette. So based on this start, are you trying to win now, or are you trying to win in a couple of years?
No, I am a accumulator of assets kind of person. It doesn't have to be that I win this year. It doesn't have to. I would prefer to win year two, but if it takes until year three, that's fine. But I want as many assets as I can possibly have accumulated onto one roster. And
Yeah.
so I just take who I think has the most trade value at each pick.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Royce Lewis is going to be absolutely outstanding. You took Bichette, like I said, and now we have to talk. We really have to talk about this one. Your fifth pick, he was
Man.
pick 141 in a dynasty league. And okay, and I know he's young. He's a former number one pick. What are you seeing in Byron Buxton that you couldn't have waited another 100 picks for?
Well, he wasn't gonna last another 100 picks, but like I'm not gonna lie, Byron Buxton is pretty terrible, and but the way I look at it is, if he comes out hot the first month, I'm gonna be able to flip him for way more than this pick. Obviously, there's the risk that he just completely tanks and I just whiff on this pick, but it at this point in the draft, I'm 100. We're what you said, 140 picks into the draft,
At that
somewhere
point, yeah.
around there. Yeah.
Yes.
So at that point, I know it's my fifth pick, but at that point, it's like the risk is like the cost of it's like the reward outweighs the risk at that point. He would have went in the first round of this draft last year, hundred
Possibly,
percent.
yeah. I could see how you could. I could see how you could say that because people were taking him around 140 in a redraft league last year, so I could
Last
see
year
that.
he was going like 50 overall in redraft.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah,
I
he
must I must have
people
just I must have just canceled him from my memory last year.
yeah, people loved him last year. And I don't know. I think he still is a former number one overall prospect. I mean, I just think there's still a lot of talent there. And I'm just trying to accumulate high upside assets at this point.
Okay, well let's talk about this then because we know he spent 35 games at AAA, 28 in the bigs last year. He had injuries. He had it seemed like the DGAF mode. It was just a combination of I think he started to realize that his name and draft pick alone won't matter anymore. So you look at the Steamer projections, and Steamer's got him for 49 games. He's got 6 homers, 21 runs, 22 RBIs, and 7 stolen bases. 49 games over under.
Oh, he's gonna play more than 49 games. That's a brutal projection. I don't know why they have it so low. I mean his if he's healthy, his defense alone will keep him in the majors. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what he's gonna be this year. But there are skills there. In 2017 he hit 16 home runs and stole 29 bases. If he does that, I got a good pick at 140 overall.
If he does that, that's outstanding. I completely agree with you there. I don't know. He's probably going to do it eventually because the talent is there. I think he needs to figure out what his game is. I think that'll help him a ton. But I guess he's got a
Yeah,
little bit. I guess he's got time. You just can't let the likes of Kepler, Rosario, and then Kirilov come pass you by.
Yeah, Kirilov is a ways away, so but yeah, Kepler. Those guys aren't going to keep Buxton Buxton away from the field. Like Jake Cave, these guys aren't going to. I don't see him as a threat personally.
Okay, then let's move on. You got Garrett Hampson, who I absolutely love. I talked about him last year. I said DJ LeMahieu's leaving town. This kid, he can hit. He's another LeMahieu, basically, to me. He can hit. He's not a huge power guy, but he gets on. I like him a lot, so I think that's a very stable piece there. But after that, at pick 201, you went with the guy that's getting in traffic accidents in his foreign land. He is not very talented at the moment, but he can hit balls a mile. You got Miguel Sano. So what's your mindset on this one?
This is pretty much the same pick as Buxton, but with an all power guy. A former top prospect that nobody likes anymore. Steamer projects him to hit 30 home runs with a 326 OBP. So I mean he's shown 10% walk rates every year in his career. So I just think this is a good point to buy Sano. Average leagues, I'm a little worried because he could easily hit 220, 230, but in OBP leagues, it it it, it incorporates his second best skill, which is taking a walk.
No, and I like that. OBP, you're 100% correct there. If you're looking average, you're in trouble. OBP, and Steamer, people need to realize I love using its projections. I talk about them all the time. A, because it's like the only thing we got right now. And B, I like the fact that they're more conservative. So it's more like a floor with some upside instead of some projections might, kind of over project, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I like using the Steamer. So in reality, they're saying 29, 30 home runs. Heck, we know Miguel Sano, and that's still in 140 games. If he plays 140 games and he's got that pop back, he's hitting you 40 home runs, and he's got it still at a 330 or 340 OBP.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Again,
I don't hate.
in 2017, Miguel Sano in 114 games had a 352 OBP with 28 home runs.
Yep.
Like if I
Yeah,
can just get that, he's a steal here. So
at that
it
point, definitely.
yeah, so it's just trying to put together guys that I think are values at the pick that they're going.
So 3 of the top 7 picks are Minnesota Twins. Did Nate Dawkins talk to you before this or something?
I know. I even messaged in our little group chat. I was like, "Yep, I'm officially a Twins fan now." Sorry, guys. I mean,
That's
I might as well
outstanding.
root for the Twins. The
You got a
Orioles aren't
better
going to do
chance than the
anything.
Orioles. Your next 3 picks, more prospects: George Valera from Cleveland, UC Kikuchi, then Esteban
Yeah,
Florio. Talk to me about this Kikuchi because I honestly have no clue.
yeah. I mean, there's really not that much out there right now, but he's gonna be he's one of the best starting pitchers on the market. He's a 27-year-old Japanese lefty, so he's he's gonna be in the majors this year. And I know I don't know if you know Tim McLeod,
Yes.
uh, and he loves UC Kikuchi, so I'm gonna take his word for this one. And it was
Did you did you
strictly
did you call him Juicy or UC?
UC.
Oh, because I like the idea of calling him Juicy Kikuchi. This could be fun.
Juicy UC, yeah, that could work.
This could be fun.
But yeah, at this point it was like if you look at the starters going
Yeah.
around him, it's like Jake Arrieta, Ryan Yarbrough, Julio Teheran were the starters that went after him. So it's kind of like, I mean, those guys are so underwhelming. I'll take a guy and just hope that he gets a little bit of hype or pitches well. And I mean, so many, like at this point we're already
Yeah.
real deep and we're only 10 or 9 rounds in. So
Yeah. So after Florio, your 10th pick, that's 280 picks in. We won't go pick by pick. I'll just name them off real quick, and we'll just kind of broadly talk about it. We got Jeff McNeil, who was, a top 3 or 4 in the Rookie of the Year balloting for the Mets. You have Brandon Lowe, a stud bat for the Tampa Bay Rays. You got Xavier Edwards, Nolan Jones. You got Nate Pearson, who just blew up in the Arizona Fall League. Marco Luciano, Giants. Dalton Varsho, you got Michael Chavis. If he's off the steroids, we'll see how that goes. O'Neill Cruz, Mark Vientos, DL Hall. You got your Oriole action there in round 21. And then with your 640th pick, 22nd round, Dennis Santana from the Dodgers. Good young arm. We saw you had surgery, but good young arm. Moral of the story, though, you have maybe 3 starters, 4 starters, the rest of your minor leaguers. Where are you going from here?
yeah, I mean, I don't plan on contending this year, obviously. And it's like, how frequently do we talk about, oh my gosh, I hate it that this young starting pitcher is hurt. Oh man, this young starting pitcher had so much talent, but he just blew out his elbow. Oh man, this starting pitcher is really struggling in the majors.
Yep.
Just don't buy young starting pitchers. Buy the ones that are showing that ace potential. Like a lot of these guys, like they went really high. Like let me just look at the draft. Like Sean Newcomb went in the 3rd round. You have, I mean, like the starting pitchers are just so, it's so hard. Like, okay, so Jesus Luzardo went in the 5th round. I love Jesus Luzardo.
Yep.
I think he's going to be great. He already has Tommy John on his resume.
Yep.
Alex Reyes was the next pitcher. How many years have we been waiting for Alex Reyes to be healthy?
Quite a while.
Yeah. Then we have Brent Honeywell, who also went, and it's like, I own Brent Honeywell in 2 dynasty leagues, and I was thinking he was going to contribute for me last year, and he blew out his elbow. Dinelson Lamet was the next starting pitcher off the board, blew out his elbow last year. Michael Kopech is the next starting pitcher, blew out his elbow last year. It just, the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
You just, once your bats are ready to compete, buy starting pitcher.
No, I agree with you there. I think that's definitely a good option there. Let's talk about a couple just kind of players, and we'll go through some teams here. First off, for many that haven't listened to the podcast with these guys yet, can you explain to me Matt Thompson taking Ronald Acuna number 1 over Mike Trout?
You'll have to talk to Matt about that. I can't give any good reasoning. I know he said that he wanted to own Ronald Acuna and all this stuff, and he owns Mike Trout. Yeah, you should. The only spot that can't be argued, in my opinion, is Mike Trout at 1.
Yep. Yeah, because in dynasties, there's a million different ways you can go with it. There's different strategies, especially with the OBP compared to average, the different formats. There's a ton of ways to go. But I tweeted out earlier when Mike Trout finished second to Mookie Betts tonight. In Mike Trout's 7 full seasons, he's finished 4th once. He's won 2 MVPs, and he's been runner-up 4 times. So he's finished top 2 in the MVP voting 6 straight seasons. Like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the last 2 years were the only years he really shouldn't have won. Like, I can easily see a case for Mookie this year. I thought Judge should have won last year, not Altuve. But every other year, Trout was the best player in baseball.
Yes, by far.
Like, even the year Miguel Cabrera won Triple Crown, Mike Trout should have won MVP that year. He was the best player in baseball.
Definitely. So you got Trout 2. Mookie Betts went 3. I don't hate it. Obviously, just won the MVP award on Wednesday night. But you got Vladito going 3rd ahead of Lindor and Juan Soto 5th or 6th, I guess. Vlad going 4th overall. What's your thoughts on that? Would you have gone sooner, or is that about right?
Honestly, I think Acuna, Betts, Vlad, Lindor, Soto, and Jose Ramirez, for me, are all just like one tier. You can pick which one you like the most. I can tell you I like a different one more, and we're both right.
Yeah. Now, it is kind of personal preference-y. I just think it's crazy when you look at steamer projections like we've been talking about. They have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. projected to lead Major League Baseball with a 306 batting average. He's going to hit 22 homers. Because they're already factoring in he's not going to be up until like the 3rd week in April or 2nd week in April, whatever it is. It's insane how good this guy's going to be, and for years to come, he's only 19, something like that.
Yeah, he'll be 20
crazy.
next year, but he's just gonna destroy baseballs. That's what Vlad does.
Yeah.
Just destroys baseballs.
And it gets interesting again. No pitchers taken for a while, all the way until Chris Sale. Let's just talk about that. Chris Sale goes, pick. I'm trying to do it without loading up the full page.
19.
Yeah, 19. That's where we are. 19 overall. First pitcher off the board, Chris Sale at 19. A, do you think it's too early for a pitcher? And B, would you have taken Chris Sale over other options there?
I wouldn't have taken Chris Sale just because obviously I've told you my strategy, and but he would be my number 1 starter in Dynasty. He's so elite. Like, and he's 30, so he's got 4 years on Scherzer.
Yep.
And honestly, he's so much better than Nola, Snell, Walker Buehler, all these guys on a per inning basis. He's so much better than them.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. It's just interesting with at Brew Crew Pep, Dave P. I'm not sure I know exactly who he is yet, but I'm going to have to follow him after this. So he takes Chris Sale there with the 19th pick. He comes back with Victor Robles, which I absolutely love. I was actually talking about him earlier today, that he's kind of the forgotten man, I feel, with Juan Soto coming up. If it wasn't for Juan Soto, Victor Robles he's up there instead. If Victor doesn't get hurt, I mean. And you go with Mr. Reliable,
sure.
Justin Upton. But then his next pitcher's in the 4th round, and he goes Forrest Whitley, which is interesting. But overall, his pitching, Whitley, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Wade Davis, Jalees Chacin. It's quite an interesting repertoire he's got there. But I guess he backed it up okay. What do you think about his team so far, the way he started after taking Chris Sale with his first pick?
I mean, I like it. I really like Victor Robles. If Ohtani hadn't fallen to me, I probably would have taken him in the 2nd round. I think he's going to be he's pretty much going to be Starling Marte, but with a little bit better OBP. Justin Upton, I'm not really a Justin Upton guy. I think I probably would have preferred Tommy Pham to him, but I think that's fine. And Whitley is a starter. I do want to invest in Whitley, but obviously my tendency is to kind of fade the young starters, but he looks like a beast. But obviously, like last year, we thought he probably would be able to make the rotation, but he got hurt.
Yep. It's interesting because we talked to Chris Sale, and then it goes towards the end. You got Nolas, Blake Snell, Walker Buehler, DeGrom wrap out towards the end of the 1st round. And in the 2nd round, you got Cole, Scherzer, Yugo Ohtani, Bauer, Severino, Carrasco, Syndergaard, Kluber, Corbin, and then Barrios, Verlander. Now it's almost half of the draft to the first 2 rounds. It's pitchers all of a sudden. Do you feel, and obviously it's hard to tell with 30 guys, was this kind of an, oh crap, I better make sure I have an ace, or is this kind of it made sense?
I think it was a lot of teams, if you look at the draft, you can tell they wanted to contend this year. So if you're going to want to contend this year, you need an ace.
Yeah.
Especially considering all these other teams are going to have aces. Like you said, it went on a run, and once the person in front of you takes one, and the ace well is kind of drying up, and they're not going to make it back to you, they kind of had to take one. And it's crazy. There's no way I could take Nola, Snell, Walker Buehler in the 1st round. Those guys, I like them, but I don't know. There's just so many good bats you could have taken. It's hard for me. It's hard for me.
With a dynasty draft, like in season-long drafts, sometimes runs happen and you got to play them even if you don't want to, type thing. In a dynasty draft, it's obviously kind of how your philosophy goes. How do you treat things when you see runs start to happen in a draft?
Just in general, or
in redrafts, all of a sudden a closer run happens or a catcher run happens, and some guys all flock to it, obviously creating the run. Now, you already mentioned, it's dynasty, you didn't need pitching, it's all these different philosophies, but you see them happen. If you just look at this grid, runs happened. How do you approach those when they're going on?
I usually just do something else, because when a run is happening, that means that resource is kind of drying up, or you're kind of forcing a pick. So I mean, some of these, like the guy, like the pick of Patrick Corbin, that one seemed kind of forced. I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into that one, but but
is that Andrew Dyer's team?
Yeah,
I think so.
It wasn't his team, but it is now. He did not make the first 3 picks, but yeah, that one seemed kind of forced. But it's kind of like part of the reason I wouldn't take some of these pitchers is because if you look at, it's Ben and Goldie, which is Colin Weatherwax. he didn't take a pitcher in the first 2 rounds, but he still ended up with James Paxton and Madison Bumgarner as his first
Yeah,
2 starters.
it
And
doesn't
it's like,
stink.
I mean, in a 30-team league, that's amazing to me. I could see James Paxton outperforming pretty much any of these starters, and
Definitely.
he got him in the 3rd round. So I just think kind of what he did, where he just kind of skipped over the pitchers and took what he thought was the best bat is the best option at the point. You forget the runs and you just take who you think is the best player that fits your team the best.
Yeah, when I do my dynasty drafting, I kind of start out with I try to get guys that are like 25 to 28 or 29 that still have a handful of years left, but so I can contend now, but I can contend for a while, throw in some prospects that'll kind of come up and replace. That's my goal going into a draft. Obviously, does it happen all the time? No, but that's kind of where I look at things when I'm drafting.
Yeah. Yeah, the
At this,
hard thing is
uh
everybody wants the 25 to 28-year-old.
yes, that's where it gets very
That
difficult.
that's the
Very
hard
difficult.
part.
So at this point, before we go look at other teams, how are you feeling about things right now? Do you feel like you need to address anything more than others?
Oh, I love my team so far. I think I'm just gonna continue just take who I think is the best player on the board. If it does end up being, I mean, I probably won't own many relief pitchers, but I think you can just find those during the season, even in a league this deep. Relievers just pop up out of nowhere. So
Yeah, especially when you got
I
saves and holds.
yeah. So I think I'm just gonna continue hammering home the young bats,
All right,
very young bats.
let's pick on some teams here. Let's have some fun with this. Um, I'll try to keep it to guys I know more so than others to try to be nice to the situation. But if you have any you want to go with, let's do it. Let's start with good old Mike Alexander, our buddy over there, Roto One. Um, I'm pretty sure that's his getting gritty with it team.
Yep, that is
Um,
him.
JD Martinez, Miguel Andujar, Jesus Aguilar, Marcelo Zuna, Chris Archer, Didi, De Jong, Vertigo, Sixto Sanchez, Morton, Jaimel Jones, who I love a lot as a prospect, Healy, Andrew Miller, Caleb Smith, Ty Buffrey, so on and so forth. All in all, I think this is sneaky good, and he's starting to pick up, guys like Shed Long and others towards the end so far. Again, only halfway through the draft. If you had to pick on anything with this team, what would you pick on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's gonna be contending. So,
Yep.
but he has absolutely no speed. I mean, he took Jankowski, but he has no speed. JD Martinez and Duhar, Aguilar, Ozuna, Didi, De Jong, they're all pretty much zeros in stolen bases. So I think he needed to balance out his categories a little bit better. But I mean, I think he's going to be a contender, and I think you can pick up speed during the season. So he,
Especially
he
in a
can he can
dynasty.
go hit
Yeah.
he can go hit up Smata for terrible Billy Hamilton.
Yeah, we'll get to that pick in a minute, though, because I think that's a sneaky nice pick. But let's talk about Mr. Mason. This is always a fun one because this team is going to get you going. He's on the Trey Turner bandwagon, like so many are for some reason. You got Luis Severino, Joey Votto, great OBP player, as we all know. You got Zach Greinke, of course, who might get traded. Who knows where that's going to go? But Mason will tell you all the good stuff about him if you ask him. And then he's got Justin Turner, Felipe Vasquez, Ross Stripling. He did get Victor. That's the one of the guys he claimed will not be on his team by the start of the year. He got Louis Robert. Then he goes and gets freaking Miguel Cabrera. That one I did not understand. He got his boy Kyle Gibson. He's got a lot of guys for the now, but then he started getting like Helio Ramos, Roman Quinn, Tapia, Bubba Thompson, Jalen Beeks, Luis Patino. He got decent prospects towards the end, but he's definitely going for the now mode. What do you think about Mason's strategy?
I mean, yeah, he drafted all the dinosaurs. The general
Yeah.
Justin Mason strategy. He did get kind of lucky that Trey Turner fell to him and
At 15, that
Severino.
surprised me.
So he got some young studs to start his team, but he got Joey Votto, Greinke, but I do love Justin Turner. I think he has a skill set that will age well. Felipe Vasquez is a young closer. Victor and Robert were definitely picks that he took just to
trade.
flip eventually. Yeah, I mean, I like Miguel Cabrera there. He's still Miguel Cabrera. He can still hit. It's just if he stays healthy, and you're at pick like 280 or something at that point. So I don't know. I like Miguel Cabrera there. He's going after guys like Luke Voigt and Yuli Gurriel and Tyler White and Carlos Santana. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
I think that's actually a good pick there.
Do you
But
actually do you believe Miguel Cabrera? Like, we know we saw his workout videos right now. He's lifting weights in his native land. But are we buying a Miguel Cabrera resurgence? I know he was banged up a lot last year, but are we actually buying into this?
well, if you look at it, last year he hit 299 with a 395 OBP. He could still hit when he played. I don't know how much power is left, but yeah, I mean I think if he's on, that's just Miguel Cabrera. So I'll buy him
Are,
at that price.
are we believing Steam are projecting him for 25 home runs?
That's gonna be tough. I'm not sure if at 25, maybe it's like 20, but I mean if he has a 370 OBP, that's great at that point.
Now, looking at we said he just went. God, this page keeps reloading on me. He got him in round 10 of this draft. So, like you said a second ago, that is pick 286, which is pretty freaking good. Looking at the two early mocks, ADPs, he was going about 177. Say you're redrafting in the Great Fantasy Invitational. Would you take Miguel Cabrera between 170 and 180 overall?
It really depends on what my team needs, but if he fit, like if I needed a batting average boost, yeah, for sure, I'd take Miguel Cabrera there. You're gonna drop so many players that you pick at that area. And how many of them truly have Miguel Cabrera's hitting upside?
Okay. That is very, very true. Let's talk about. Let's go to Matt Thompson's team. It's always fun. We already mentioned you got Ronald Acuna. I like the coming back with Verlander and Jack Flaherty. Don't hate that at all. Got Scooter, Gene Segura, and then he goes back to his prospect roots. For those that know Matt, he's been on the show. He's a big prospect guy for fantasy, with Friends with Benefits, and now he's got Prospect Live with all the boys, Ralph Lifshitz and company. But he got all his prospects, and Jake Lamb, of course, he had to get Nolan Gorman. Otherwise, he'd kill someone. Hunter Renfroe, who I really like that pick at pick 300. I think Hunter Renfroe's in for a huge year. Bradley, Matthew Liberatore, Steven Souza, so on and so forth. It's an interesting team. He got his prospects early, and he's filled it in with some pretty okay guys after that. What are you thinking with Matt Thompson's team, given with Holding not taking Mike Trout number one?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done a good job. He's picked up a few Cardinals players along the way, of course. Like he just had a Cardinals turn of Malcolm Nunez and I think it's John Torres, but yeah, I think he's got a solid team. He kind of did it's kind of weird what he did because the first 5 picks were a lot of win now, and then he went Christian Robinson and Andres Jimenez at the next turn, which is kind of counter to what he did early on. But I have a feeling he's gonna be on the trade market trying to get some win now pieces with that. And that's the thing with 30 teams, there's gonna be teams selling.
Definitely.
And you will definitely want to have, and the best currency to have when there's bad teams is to have the young bats. And so I'll be there when they're ready to sell.
There you go. Already planning their demise. A team that I really like the direction it's going, and it should be no surprise. He's very quiet but very, very powerful with his tweets and his data work and everything else he does. But Smada, outside of being a computer genius, has put together a very, very solid looking start, at least in my opinion here. You can disagree if you so choose. But when you have the likes of first, called Smata Industries is pretty freaking good. But Bryce Harper, Joey Gallo in an OBP league is outstanding. Fernando Tatis Jr., Joe Adell, Jesse Winker, Danny Jansen, Ketel Marte, Julie Lucchesi, Nate Lowe, Billy Hamilton at pick 293. I do not hate at all. I think it is a great way to get steals late or trade, like you said. Skaggs, Isaac Paredes, Ken Giles, so on and so forth. I think this has been a sneaky good draft. Louis Basabe at pick 593. I think can be sneaky nice. You got Mitchie Two Bags at pitch 668. I'd rather have Mitchie Two Bags than Miguel Cabrera. I'll put that out there right now.
Ooh, I'm not sure about that one. But because Mitch Moreland, Mitch Moreland's going to be solid. He will be solid, but he just has no upside at all.
I guess he had some upside this year. He almost made the All-Star team for goodness kidding. But what do you think about Smata here so far? I think he's got a really good balance of prospects, young guys that can play now, the whole cha-cha. I think he's doing pretty darn good there.
No, Smata's team is horrible. I can't stand that guy. No, I'm just kidding. But no, Smata's awesome. His team is interesting. His picks always annoyed me throughout the draft. I was hoping Tatis would make it to me in the third round. Didn't happen. Then I was hoping Wander Franco would make it to me and didn't happen. But I'm happy with Royce Lewis there. Yeah, Smata's team, I really like it. Joe Adell, I think, is going to be a beast. I was between him and Bo Bichette for my fourth pick. Jesse Winker in an OBP league is awesome. Danny Jansen as well. I'm not sure about Ketel Marte as much. Joey Lucchesi is his number one starter, so you can tell he faded the starting pitchers like I did, and obviously
I like where the rest of his starters turned out. I like where the rest of his starters turned out, though. I think it's pretty sneaky nice.
Yeah, they're
for fading that long.
yeah, they're okay guys. He's going to need to do a lot of work on his rotation, just like I'm going to have to. But yeah, I really like his team. He's going to have a consistent contender is what I'm expecting. I feel like I'm going to have to contend with him in the next few years when my team is finally put together.
All right. Without going over every person's team, because there's a lot of different ways to break all of them down. We have 30 teams here. Were there any other ones that really stood out to you? Like this is really good or this is really crappy. This is a judgment and free zone. Or a judge for you can judge all you want. No one can ridicule you for it.
Well, yeah, I think Darius Austin. He has a partner. I can't think of his partner's name right now. They had the second pick in the draft, and I'm pretty sure they're going to win this year. If you just look at their team, their first three picks are Mike Trout, Charlie Blackmon, and Clayton Kershaw.
Oh wow, yeah,
yeah, and then they have Travis Shaw, Kenley Jansen, Tim Anderson. Yeah, their team all put together is going to be really, really good this year, and I think pretty tough to beat.
Heck, you got Marwin Gonzalez, Rick Porcello, Posey in round 10. Yeah, they're not messing around.
Yeah. So
they didn't take a prospect until like round 20.
Yep. Yeah. They went. It's smart though. When you have Mike Trout, you have to win now.
Heck, you got Kyle Lewis in round 21. That's outstanding. Sorry to keep interrupting you. I'm impressed by that squad. Oh my goodness.
No, yeah. Their team's going to be really strong this year. I'm not sure how good it's going to be in a year, but it looks really good this year. And like they did a good job of putting a nice solid rotation together without having to spend highly on it. I mean, Kershaw in the third round, but I mean, damn, Kershaw in the third round is insane to see.
Compared to like where Chris Sale and those guys went. That's nuts.
Yeah, so their team is going to be really, really strong this year, in my opinion. Let me see what other. Obviously, I told you about Colin's team. I really liked his start that he got those two starters.
What's his team name? Oh yeah, he got
Ben and Goldie. Yeah, I like that he got those two starters a lot. Without having to use one of his first two picks, so he got Benintendi and Goldie, which was a nice start. The guy who's really been killing me with a lot of picks, just throughout the draft, just some prospects and stuff was Steve Ross. Like he took, I I know he took a couple guys like Drew Waters and Brian Rocchio in the last couple rounds that I really wanted, and he kind of took them from me. So that's always
Sniper.
that's always rough when they do that to you. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to keep up with who everyone has throughout the draft because it's like, yeah, there's 30 teams, so it's just so hard to wrap your head around it, even when you're in the draft. And we've been going so fast. Like we started this last Monday, and we're
That's good.
through. Yeah, we're in the 23rd round, so we've
So
made over 600 picks in 10 days.
you guys will be done around Thanksgiving.
Possibly
Yeah.
if the pace keeps up. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to go this fast. I mean, I've been in 15 team redraft leads that are 30 rounds that take
Yep.
longer than this because
I'm
people are
with you
taking the
there.
full 8 hours. But we're honestly we're all hounding people. People take
Yeah.
20 minutes and we're yelling at them. Justin's telling him they're fired if they take 30 minutes. So
Oh, fucking Justin. Oh, that's good stuff. And now that he's on paternity leave for 2 months, he's got more time to bug people. Um, you don't have to if you don't want to. I guarantee you, or I want to say, they're not going to listen to this. What are some of the prospects like you're hoping or like that you're waiting on and hoping they're there? You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just asking.
Just looking through my queue right now. So one guy, oh, here you go, a Giants prospect.
Okay, Joey
Uh,
Bart.
no, Bart is way
Oh, he should have been
gone.
gone. Yeah, I was about to say, how the heck could he still be around?
Yeah, Alexander Canario.
Okay.
Uh, he's a low-level outfielder or rookie ball outfielder. So, but he's shown a strong walk rate and he has power and speed. So he's a guy that's interesting. He's only 18. I think my next pick, I'm kind of undecided on my next pick, to be completely honest. Yeah, I have a ton of players in my queue right now that I haven't really sorted out. But I'm really big on taking the international players.
Yeah.
Just because it's like if you look at the top of these drafts,
Actually,
it
you're on the
just
clock. You're on the clock if you want to make a pick on the air.
I'm on the clock right now.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I
Alex
am.
Fato just got taken.
I've been on the clock for 20 minutes now. They're probably screaming at me.
You could send him my way. We can talk to him.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
kind of
talk
in
through this.
between. Yeah, I have a couple guys. I think I think here I'm going to take Antonio Caballo. I think that's how you say his name. I'm very big on taking the young international signings who have shown something. Like he really crushed in rookie ball last year for the Yankees. So I'm thinking
Nice.
him, or I could take Orelvis Martinez, who was the highest signed. He got the largest bonus this year, other than Victor.
I might go that direction, but that's just me.
So I think I'll take Orelvis Martinez. He's
I
a
like it.
Blue Jays prospect. Jason Waddell really likes him.
Well, then there you go.
And that's always good enough for me. If Jason Waddell likes him,
Yep.
I'm probably gonna pick him up or draft him in my dynasty drafts.
Well, there you have it, folks. Live on the air. Pick, around 24 or something crazy, like bananas. Pick 700. No, pick 680 in the draft. Just made by Walter McMichael. Beautiful
Yeah,
times.
because if you look at this, like I know that Ben Badler loves Marco Luciano,
Yeah.
another Giants prospect.
Yep. The Giants are slowly building things up.
Yeah, they're good at they sign the international players. They are players in that market. So but yeah, Ben Badler said he has like the he would be the potential guy to do like the Wander Franco type jump. Not necessarily that he is Wander Franco,
That'd be
but just
huge.
that he could get that kind of hype. And if you look, Wander Franco won the third round of this draft.
That's tremendous. Then get stuff like that. Um, you talked about on your podcast last night. You drafted a dynasty team with your buddy Paul Martin there. Now, right now, you're doing it by yourself, so obviously, you can kind of go with what you want to go with. What's it like having to draft with a partner? Like, I hate doing it, but how do you guys do it and make it work so well?
Well, that one was actually an auction draft.
I
So
remember you talked about that last year.
it was a slow auction, and it was a headache sometimes. But a lot of
Who,
times
Paul or
I
the
would get on
auction?
both, and me. I'm sure I was a headache too. But last year I remember we were doing it. We saved up a ton of money to get Vlad, and we didn't because we still got outbid. A guy bid like $40 on him out of uh the standard 260, and we had to use it to buy like 40 players. And this was I know you've had Beat On and Donkey Teeth from the
Yeah.
Ditka Sausage Pot. So it's their dynasty league that they run. We
Okay.
partnered up and have a team. So what we ended up doing is we shifted all of our money and just bought a ton of prospects. We kind of smoothed it out, and we ended up like one of the guys I was like, we're gonna get him, and we took Juan Soto was one of them. We spent up a little bit for him. A guy Paul really wanted that I didn't want was Miguel Andujar. So that ended up paying out. So it's kind of like sometimes you just gotta let one person take this, the other person take that, and we ended up we we did not plan on contending. We did the whole we're not contending this year, we'll contend next year, and we finished third the first year doing that
Not
because
bad.
we had random guys that came up and did way better than we expected. And our main spend was Jose Ramirez last year. So we had him, Soto, and Matt Chapman, and guys like that. And then we ended up buying Kershaw in the middle of the year because we needed an ace. So
Okay.
it ended up working really well. And I think our team is definitely one of the favorites to win. If not, we're either going to win or come in second is what I'm going to project.
I like it. Calling your shot early, real early, November early. I like that. When you're looking at dynasty drafts, and I saw Lance McCullers went in the 11th round, and that seems pretty fair. But in a 30-team league, that's well over 300 picks. How do you approach guys where the pedigree's good, injuries happen, you probably aren't going to have them for the year? How do you approach a guy like that? Do you just never want to touch him? Does he have to drop an extra couple rounds? How do you look at that? Because I know like Brent Honeywell goes, but he'll be back later this year. Kind of, I know it's pick your poison type stuff.
Yeah, I think that in the actual draft, unless they go for like a big discount, I think McCullers went in a good spot. So I was definitely thinking about getting him. But I think the main thing to do, especially if you're rebuilding in dynasty leagues, is to go out and buy the hurt players because you're gonna get them at a discount. And
Oh,
if your team is bad, you don't really care that you're waiting that year for them to get healthy. Like I don't expect my team to contend this year. So Shohei Ohtani doesn't really matter how much he's going to hit this year or if he's going to have to take time off to go rehab his arm. And it doesn't really matter to me. But if I was looking to contend this year, Ohtani would probably be someone I would try and sell and get major value for. But yeah, like the guys like what's the, Michael Kopech, he went at a good
yeah.
time, but he's going to miss all of this year. I he didn't really go as much of a discount, so I wasn't really thinking about
That was
Kopech.
Colin's team. Yeah.
Yeah. Colin took him a little too high for my liking, just because there can be plenty of complications with it. But I think it's a good strategy to get guy like Garrett Richards went. Justin Mason actually took him, and I was thinking about taking him the round that he took him in round 20. Like
It's not
that's
bad in round 20.
if Garrett Richards comes back
Yep, that's
next year
tremendous.
and is Garrett Richards, you got a major steal. So I think it's a very, very good strategy.
But we won't tell him that, so it's okay.
Yeah. Edit
Or
that part out.
or you can tell him it's okay. He's got Jeff Samardzija, Kyle Gibson, and Ross Stripling to go with it, so it's okay.
Yeah, they'll all be hurt this year too. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they'll all be sharing time on the DL. But
Oh man.
well, with that being said, Walter, any final thoughts on this draft? You're still going strong. Long ways to go. Like I said, we could pick apart all kinds of things here, but any final thoughts on this?
No. I think the main thing with drafts like this is just, especially in a league this big, get the guy that you want at that pick. Like, just take him there. Don't worry about if he's going to come back to you, because he's probably not. Like, you're going to be like, oh man, this guy, I really wanted him. Well, you should have just taken him.
It's so true because like when you're coming back, you have to wait almost over 40 picks till you go again. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I got to wait 40 picks, and I'm like, well, I need to take the guy I want right now because he's not coming back at all. So,
Like to make that easier for you non-math majors out there, for most people that play in 12 teams leagues, that's like 3.5 rounds before you get to pick again.
it's brutal. It
That's
really
rough.
is, and it's hard because it's like you have to think through every decision more, because the shortest wait I have is 20 picks.
The shortest wait.
Yeah, it's 20
Oh
picks.
man,
That's the shortest
it's,
wait I
it,
have.
it's one of those that makes you wonder would it have been better to be like around pick 15 and just have that even both directions, or would you rather be on the end and just do like the bang bang and then wait forever?
No, I don't want the end. I don't want the
Yeah,
end here, because that's where you get really screwed, because you have
you
to
got to really reach.
you really have to reach for the guys you want then. So yeah, I did not want the end.
It
So
almost makes you think you almost want to be in the middle in a draft of this size.
yeah, I wanted like 6, mainly because I wanted to get one of those guys. But I think where I ended up became a good spot for me, because it's like I didn't have to wait. I mean, yeah, 40 picks is a lot, but it's like you said, some of them are waiting 60 to get back to them. So
And in reality, I think Eloy Jimenez at pick 21 in a dynasty draft is amazing. What you guys maybe haven't discussed this yet, Justin may know because he's the ringleader for all things Friends with Fantasy Benefits. But what's going to happen? Because the hardest part about dynasty leagues is keeping the owners. What's your guys' fallback plan? Because I know you guys, a majority of you, I'd say at least 90% of you want this to work for a long time. I know Justin would. It would create great content. He's got to have some sort of fallback plan. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm willing to help if you guys need someone.
yeah, we have all 30 people that are in it are Friends with Fantasy Benefits contributors.
Yes.
So the fallback is, if someone leaves, then we'll probably replace them with someone who is
Joins the
also a
site.
Friends with Fantasy Benefits contributor. So it's kind of like we plan on keeping it around for a long time.
Good. Because that's the hardest part. Is I love the dynasty concept. I like it more than a regular concept. It's just so hard to make it keep going. That's the
Yeah, I
frustrating part.
think
Because
I think the
yeah,
hardest thing is you have to make sure you have a good commissioner, and that
yep,
you have the commissioner chose good owners. It's like, yeah, sometimes people do take on too many leagues and they have to drop out, which is perfectly fine. But I think if you're having like 20% of the league turnover every year, it's not a good sign at all.
yeah, yeah. And that's a good comment you made on the number of leagues. I'm already decided I'm going to really cut that back this year because I say that every year, but I'm really going to do my damnedest this year to do that because it just gets too much, way too much.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling myself. It's November. It's November. I can say these things now because the problem is I was doing so well last year that I get, hey, would you like to play on this one? Hey. It's like, well, I don't want to tell you no,
Yeah,
but
it's like,
I know it definitely affects the overall stuff.
yeah, it does, because especially like dynasty leagues, they take so much time, and the one thing I will say is you have to trade. Like, I know some people don't like trading, but you have to trade, because someone is going to be trading, and someone's going to win the trade and someone's going to lose the trade. And if someone is continuously winning trades, you're behind them.
Yes.
So you
And
have to do it.
And I'm glad you said it because you have to trade. Trading is essential in a dynasty league. There's no question about that. And even in redraft leagues, I like guys that can trade. It's just people need to start getting the concept through that I'm not going to be able to screw everyone. Like you can win trades, like you're saying. It can be even 70-30 or something like that. But you can't keep bending someone over and expecting it to work. That's just not realistic to make trades happen. And then it's harder and harder to deal with you in the future. So I wish there
Yeah.
was like I know I didn't get to go to First Pitch Arizona, and I want to one of these days. I think I need to like talk to Brent Hershey or something and go, can you guys start a platform, like one of your discussion things about the proper etiquette of trading? Because I think I go a long, long way.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I think it's like you kind of just have to feel the people out. Some people aren't going to want to trade certain players, and that's fine. That's
Yep.
just you kind of just have to do it, and you kind of just have to figure out what they're looking to do, and not just send crap offers to people every time, because sometimes that just turns people
Yep.
off of you, and they're like, oh, I'm never going to trade with you. So I don't know. I like to keep it just like shoot someone a message. Hey, I see you're doing well in
Yep.
this category, doing bad in this one. I have this guy. What do you think of him? And if they're like, oh yeah, I like him. Well, there you go. You've got your partner right there. Now work it out. But if
Yeah. I think that's one of the best ways to go about it is start out with just talking to them. Don't throw the offer out right away because I'd say 99% of the time the offer is going to be definitely favored in your direction. And it's not going to go well sometimes unless the owner understands the concept. So I think that's a great approach, like you said, because I get it even in the football leagues and stuff. I get these trade offers. It's like, why don't you ask me what I need and what I'm interested in trading before you just start throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks.
oh,
It's just
football trading is the worst. Like
I blew up
God,
a guy.
it's
I blew up a guy in our league this year. I put it on Twitter. I put it on our message board. We have a league text. I blew him up for the trade offers. Like
yeah,
he's the
it's just
worst.
well, it's like fantasy football. It's like, hey, I need your running back. You want to trade him to me? It's like, no, I need him.
Yeah,
I also
exactly.
need my running back. There's really no. That's the great thing about Dynasty Baseball too. Is like,
Yes.
there's so many assets to trade. There's prospects. There's picks. There's MLB players. It's so complex, and you have to learn all of it. And it's the best way to play any fantasy sport, in my opinion. Like
All right, and
there's no second place, close second place to me to Dynasty Baseball.
I agree. I love the dynasty format. Last question I'll ask you, and since you have so many prospects, you're building from the youth up. What do you use as like sources or references to kind of build your repertoire of players that you're looking for?
Yeah, so are you're just talking about prospects or just players in general that I'm
You
looking
could say
for?
in general, but when you're looking at dynasty, you got to go so much deeper than the average player knows. So where do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go? What do you use?
For prospects, I mean, the prospects live crew is just
Yes,
they're so good. Like they're just crushing it. And Matt Thompson's in the league, so it's kind of unfair that he already has all the info. But yeah, Matt, Ralph, I said Jason Waddell, Jason Panini, Lance Brosdowski. They're all just amazing at what they do. So I get a lot of info from those guys. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I listen to like the Baseball America one. I listen to the MLB Pipeline one, stuff like that, the Fangraphs one.
yep.
And then honestly, what I like to do a lot of is I will box score hunt for low minor league players, and then I YouTube those guys to see what they look like in
I like it.
general, and then I just kind of put it together. Because I mean, I'm not going to be able to go down to where these guys are playing in rookie ball and scout them out or anything. But I like to just get a look at what they're doing, and then I'll read up a little bit on them. And like one of the guys I got in a ton of dynasty leagues last year just by doing that is Framil Reyes, who
Nice.
actually looks like he's a pretty good asset this year. So I think that's what I do. I just comb through the box scores every week, like just on Fangraphs, just comb through what players are doing, and then I'll put in fab bids on them, depending on, because you got to be kind of aggressive with some of the prospects, because
No doubt.
once they actually get any info out on them, they're gone. People are
Yeah.
picking them up and spending a ton of fab, and so
That's why I like your idea of getting low A guys and stuff like that. I go to watch the San Jose Giants. They're the high A for the Giants, and I love it. I sit there and I start watching the other teams and this and that. And I'm looking forward. Helio Ramos should hopefully be there next year. Melvin Adon, who was in the Arizona Fall League that people started watching, I got to see him there. That guy is just a freak. If he just learned command, it'd be amazing. So it's just fun watching these low guys kind of build their way up. And like you said, they're not as talked about, so people don't really know them at that point in time. So definitely one way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Like Wander Franco wouldn't have went high at all in this draft last year, and now you could trade him for anything you want, really. So they get a lot of hype, and they gain a lot of value.
Yep. Well, awesome stuff, Walter. We're going to wrap it up right there. I'm curious to see where things finish up. I'm going to keep checking this link every couple days, not every day, but every couple days, and seeing where you guys are ending up here. And maybe we'll chat about it on Twitter or talk again on the podcast, see where it goes. Or I'll direct them your guys' way, because I'm pretty sure you guys will have more fun discussions over at Friends of Fantasy Benefits. But you can follow them on Twitter at Walter, or The Real Fake Walter. It's Walter McMichael. Thanks for joining me tonight, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. It's always a fun time. I hope to come on again, and we'll talk some redraft before the season starts.
We definitely will. I'm going to crank it up a little earlier than normal. I kind of started in February last year. We'll get going even earlier this year. Try to do a lot more. So you will definitely be back on, and we'll get it going. Maybe one episode I'll have you and Paul on at the same time. We'll have the Real Fake Baseball experience on Bench with Bubba.
Oh, you guys don't want that. You're not ready for it.
I've had you both on now twice separately. I might have to bring it on the third time's a charm and see how it works.
All right. Yeah, I'll be down. We'll just have to figure out a time that works with Paul. But yeah, I'll definitely you can do the dual guests with us. I think we'll make you laugh at least. That's all I can guarantee.
I'm not doubting that, but we'll see how that goes. But everybody, again, check me out on Twitter at The Real Fake Walter, and go check out the guys at friendsoffantasybenefits.com. Always great stuff over there. And tell Justin Mason Bubba thinks he's a goofball. But this is Bench with Bubba, episode 131. Catch you guys later.